Well, hello and welcome to episode 1 of I See Bad Movies. My name is Dave Keane. I'm joined by my co-host
Emma Spicer.
And today we are going to be talking about a bad movie. So just to fill you in on what we're planning on for the format of these episodes is we are going to pick a series of movies of a particular genre. Hopefully all bad, but we may get some hidden gems in there somewhere. Now, we're not going to just talk about the movie and say this was good, this was bad, etc. Every week we're going to toss a coin and then we're going to decide if we're going to focus on the good bits of the movie or the bad bits of the movie. And we're also going to choose certain categories that we're going to focus on as well. Now, I'm not going to waste your time too much now going through all the categories, but we'll pick some in a moment for the movie that we're going to cover, and you'll get the idea as we go along. So, now you know what we're doing, let's talk about the actual movie that we're going to cover.
Let's do that.
So, our first movie, dear listeners, is a movie called The Ghosts of Borley Rectory. Ooh.
Are you scared yet?
Yeah, I haven't watched the trailer. Maybe I'm a little bit actually, but so you might have guessed we're going to focus for the first few episodes on ghost movies, particularly, hopefully, bad ghost movies, and I've got my fingers crossed for the Ghosts of Borley Rectory. So let's have a little bit of the synopsis for you, Emma, because I've had the pleasure of watching the trailer.
Lucky you.
Yeah, oh, lucky me. Hopefully you enjoy it, or don't enjoy it. I don't know. What?
Yeah, are we aiming to enjoy or
I don't know.
not enjoy?
I think enjoying not enjoying it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? We're looking for good bad movies, so it's enjoyable because it's more comical than
we're going to hopefully sift through the pile and find some gold in there, because there's gold out there. There's got to be somewhere in the mix. Okay, so the Ghosts of Borley Rectory is actually based on a true story, and Borley Rectory is apparently the most haunted house in the UK. So yeah, there you go. So it's 1937 Essex, England. Given an opportunity to investigate the most haunted house in England, leading British paranormal investigator Harry Price is given the keys to the infamous Borley Rectory for 6 months, hoping to discover the truth behind the hauntings, strange sounds, and apparitions that have plagued the abandoned property and surrounding area for over 500 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I'm just glad that all the lights are on right now.
Brown pants on.
Oh no, I only wore jeans. Oh. Alright, so, Emma, are you ready for me to toss the world's most comically large coin?
Born ready.
Alright, so this is going to decide if we're going to focus on the best bits or the worst bits of the movie for the episode. So, here we go. Right, so if it's yes, it's good. If it's no, it's bad.
And it's yes.
It's a yes. So
We've got to try and make this movie good.
We are going to have to find all the good points in this movie. Okay, but now we're going to choose the categories that we're going to focus on. Now we have, I think, 13 categories in total.
Yeah, I think
something
it
like
was over
that.
10, wasn't it?
Definitely somewhere over 10. And I'm going to ask you now, Emma, to pick a card, any card, 5 cards
make something
at some
disappear.
point. Yeah, our dignity, maybe.
Am I reading these out as I go?
Yeah, please do.
So we've got hair and makeup, scene, best scene,
Okay.
best actress,
Excellent.
best line, and best stunts.
Is that all 5? All right.
All 5, so yes.
So, could you read them all out one more
So
time?
we've got best scene, best hair and makeup, best actress, best line, and best stunts.
Okay, so with that in mind, shall we now go and watch The Ghosts of Borley Rectory and see if we can find any gold within the muck?
Let's do it.
welcome back. We've just watched the Ghosts of Borley Rectory, and
well, I'm not going to sleep tonight for one.
It's
so scary.
I've got a long drive home through some dark country lanes, and oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to give 3 rings to let you know I've got home safe. Right, so we've just watched it, and we wanted to expand on the synopsis just a little bit for you, just to give you an idea of what we just watched. So we're first introduced to Harry Price and his sidekick Mark. Forgive me, Mark, I can't remember your surname. And they've moved into Borley Rectory, and they've got it for 6 months to do experiments, etc., to investigate the paranormal kind of ongoings.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, nobody lives there, do they? So
no, it looks empty. And I had a feeling that they were having to investigate it because someone was going to be moving in.
I think so. It wasn't completely clear. Like with a lot of these movies, it's not always explained that well. You kind of jump from one scene to another without really knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
And there was also a whole conversation in there that made no sense whatsoever.
It was so confusing. So confusing. And this happens because Harry gets a couple of helpers, Helen and Roger, who no doubt we will talk about in great detail coming up, guaranteed, either in this episode or in an extra episode, but we will definitely cover them. So Helen and Roger are there to help. They then have this sort of round table sort of meeting with local people to discuss the paranormal ongoings.
Yes.
Where we are introduced to a few characters.
The priest.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name. And was she the priest's wife? Do we know?
Well, they had
the same surname.
They had the same surname.
They're either brother and sister, or they're married, or scarily both. Maybe, I don't know. We hope not.
Yeah, it was weird though, wasn't it? Because she was a lot younger than him as well.
She was
a lot younger.
Yeah, again, they didn't really explain who was around that table, did they?
No, there was a local farm or landowner.
Questionable accent.
Very questionable accent. I don't know where Borley is. Is it West Country?
It said Essex on the...
Yeah, Essex. Yeah. So why did the landowner have that Wessex, that West...
Who knows where they were, because the accents were all completely different.
All over the place.
And changed throughout the film. So we don't know. They could have been anywhere.
Yeah, the accent felt great. So they have this kind of conflab around the table to kind of talk about, what Harry's going to be investigating there, and they talk about this malevolent spirit that's in the house, and the priest's wife Marianne has seen it a lot apparently. Then we move on to a mishmash of scenes of individual kind of haunting moments while they're throughout the house. For the 6 months, and there's no real rhyme nor reason to any of it. You don't have any idea of how long time has passed, how much time has passed. So it's all pretty disjointed, and then all of a sudden it's not 1937 anymore. It's 1938. They've had their 6 months, and they've had multiple scary meetings with this entity that's in the house,
and they kind of ramp up the investigation as they go along. They start off with just sleeping there and walking around with a torch, and then they move up a notch and they put some bells out, a tripwire with bells on it.
It's beautiful. Who'd have thought
then it? The next step is to go around and point in the corners and read the first page of the book and write 1 page of notes in 6 months.
That was, it's a lot of work, I'm sure. And they'll need another rest after Borley House to get over it. So but then nothing really happens after it, does it?
No, Helen and her husband Roger, who you just mentioned, they can't possibly stay because Roger gets scared.
They're too scared.
Helen can't stay without him, so she goes as well. And then they come back though, don't they?
Yes. Helen comes back.
Oh, Helen comes back, but Roger doesn't.
Yeah, Roger's done a runner.
Yeah, so...
And then they have a little seance, and they think they've
there's
gotten...
two, isn't there? There's a seance with
there's a early... I forgot. Yeah, that's a good point. There's an early seance, you're quite right, where they kind of... That's the first time they properly meet the evil entity, isn't it? Yes.
And then they have the seance at the end,
where they kind of think they've gotten rid of... And we thought Mark, or one of the characters... By the way, spoilers, everyone. We thought Mark had died, but he hadn't.
No.
He's going to get better.
They were kind of hoping Helen would die.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Yeah. Just a little bit, maybe. But yeah, and then nothing really happens. We think that we've got rid of the evil entity, but they haven't actually. And the movie ends with a little bit of story telling us that the house burnt down 6 months later.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I'm wondering if he didn't get paid for his investigation because it was so shit. And so the people that owed him the money just burnt the house down with him in it.
That's quite possibly it, because there was a line that he said that was and no one will be able to investigate it in the way that I have. Yeah.
Good.
Is that because you've just burnt the place down to hide your lies? Maybe. Yeah. Who knows? So I mean, that's kind of the synopsis. It's pretty much a nothing film, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not really a point to it. I mean, it's based on a true story, but not a great story. If someone was telling me that at a party, I'd probably glaze over pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's
there
it.
was a ghost, and then you don't know if there was. Okay.
And you kind of get you do kind of get the feeling that if they had maybe they were just too constricted by staying within the realms of what Harry had documented as happened instead of...
I can't imagine that investigation was close to the real investigation though, can you?
I don't know. I think I'm not that up to speed with the story, so I'm gonna have...
Neither am I, but
there's got to be a wiki page.
We need to look into this, because if that's the investigation to find out if you've got a ghost, then I'm not sure you need to pay somebody to come into your house and do that.
No, you can pay us and we'll come and investigate.
Let's not let out any of our secrets.
Yeah. I nearly said they'd have to front us because we need to buy a lot of bells.
We'd need to buy a lot of bells.
A lot of bells, to hunt ghosts. A couple of books, but actually, do we need that many books? Because we'll need the front page of some books.
Throw them at us anyway. So.
Yeah. So we're going to get into now talking about the different parts we're talking about now. Of course, we are and we will be picking at random the things that we focus on. Some days, some episodes, we're going to get a lot to talk about for all of them. Other episodes, we're going to end up with very little
for some of them
to discuss. Yeah, we're going to cover over some of the things that we very quickly, very briefly, that we didn't get much from this movie because it was quite plain in certain things that it did.
Yeah, I think some of the categories aren't going to apply, like you say. So, for instance, stunts. This wasn't really a movie for stunts.
No, it wasn't. So while we're on stunts, we managed to pick one out. Would you want to?
You could loosely call it stunt. It wasn't really a stunt, was it? So when they're having the seance, there's a part where they all kind of get blown backwards in their chairs, but it's a bit like The Matrix, where they sort of bend backwards but not fully, and then they kind of lean forwards again. That was the closest we got to a stunt in this movie.
And I don't know if they made them do it in slow motion or if they slowed it down.
I think they possibly slowed it down. I don't know. It's hard to tell, actually.
It's like if you ever watch them running in Baywatch, they are running in slow motion, but then they also slow it down as well.
Maybe they did both
to give it like a really it was a weird it was pretty weird. And it wasn't much of a stunt. It was just kind of like, as you said,
that's the closest I think we had to a stunt, because there wasn't really any stunts.
No, there wasn't. I was really hoping that someone would maybe be pushed. Helen would maybe be pushed down the stairs by the ghost or something or anything, but it was very tame, tame.
For a horror movie as well, very tame.
Yeah, no particular real jump scares. I mean, they tried, but they failed.
They failed miserably.
Yeah, pretty miserably.
That's pretty well tonight, I think.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if I will drive home safely yet, but that's more me than the movie, I think. So stunts were a bit of a letdown. Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yeah,
I'm afraid
if you like stunts, don't watch this movie for the stunts.
Yeah, yeah. Or watch the movie and think where you'd put a decent stunt in.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. Maybe. So it's going to lead us on to Best Actress now. So we said we're going to look at Best Actress, and well, there were only 3 actresses in the movie.
Yes.
2 of
Toya
which.
Wilcox, surprisingly.
Yeah, Toya Wilcox.
I mean, who knows where she's been for? Well, I asked you during the film where she'd been for the last few years, and David knew that she'd been half naked doing something with her husband.
Well, I mean, let me quantify that. I can't quantify that. It's just, Toya Wilcox does the Sunday sessions or something with her husband, Robert Fripp. He plays guitar, she sings and jiggles her bits. And now, the only reason I know that is because it gets shared by people I know. That's the only reason, okay? Yeah, it's truly a sight. It's truly a sight. But yeah, Toya Wilcox.
But she also looked like she either had lip filler or false teeth because she had a bit of a trout pout, didn't she? It was a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, but she didn't look like the Toya Wilcox I remember.
Yeah, and I looked at it, and I looked at her, and I thought, and you said yourself, you only really realised it because of the voice.
Yes, it didn't look like her, but the voice is very distinct, so we knew it was her from that, but
out of the 3 actresses, she was the best wasn't she? You know, she was the medium in the first scene. I can't remember the name of the character she played, but she was given real Mystic Meg vibes. So
she was wearing a thing on her head, like so you probably haven't seen Sex and the City.
Oh,
but
no,
in the movie, when Carrie gets married, she wears this thing on her head, and she gets jilted, and afterwards she says, when she's talking about it with her friend, she says, I put a bird on my head. And my friends go, is that what that was? I thought it was feathers. It was like that. It was like this like you couldn't really describe what it was, but it was kind of like there was a few feathers and it was kind of a thing on her head.
Yeah.
But you couldn't really, I was like, what? It wasn't a hat and it wasn't a fascinator. It was somewhere in between.
It was a hatinator. With a few feathers stuck in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, wasn't it? Toya Wilcox was at once the best actress in the film. The seance scene with her, well, we'll talk about best scene in a bit. It was definitely up there, that one, and I think she made it, because she just played with it, and it's almost like you could tell she was the only one that had fun doing it.
Yeah, I think the others were taking it very seriously, and there was also the guy from The Bill, wasn't there?
The Bill.
The weirdest accent I've ever heard. No, maybe not actually, because we've watched Beneath Loch Ness.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, if you want to hear some dreadful accents, Beneath Loch Ness is a movie to watch. Absolutely. His accent was terrible.
It was all over the place.
Yeah, but Toya was the best actress, and in terms of hair and makeup, there wasn't really much choice, was there?
No.
Toya was the best for the era as well, because you had Helen and Marianne, who didn't really look in the era very much.
Not really, and they kind of curled their hair, but it wasn't curly, but it wasn't straight. It was kind of a strange style.
Yeah,
and like you say, it wasn't really 1930s. No,
Marianne was fake tan to the eyeballs as well. Yeah. Did you notice? Which I don't think
I think fake tan would have been around in the 1930s, would it?
I don't think many priests' wives in 1937 would have been down the tanning salon or put a bit of the old bronzer on. I don't think it would have happened.
The whole film though, there was nothing 1930s particularly about it. Was their costume? There was nothing that screamed 1930s to me.
Not really.
Every now and then they tried to make themselves sound a bit posher, didn't they?
Yes.
Kind of slipped in and out of just speaking normally and then going into, I better speak like this because it's 1930s.
Yeah, there was a tiz thrown in there. The tiz really just jarred out of me because I was like, what is this, Shakespeare? I mean, it's clearly not, but it was, that was pretty bad, wasn't it? So Best Actress and Best Hair and Makeup really does just go to Toya Wilcox, doesn't it? Just by default, because she wasn't the worst thing in it.
She was in it as well was quite amazing.
Yeah, although there were a few faces that popped out of it. Obviously, you've mentioned the fella from The Bill.
Yeah.
No idea of the fella's name, or even the character he played on The Bill.
The main one.
Yeah, he was detective main one, I think you'll find.
Detective main one from The Bill.
But yeah, so I recognise him from that. And obviously, if you're not from the UK, The Bill is what was a nightly kind of like half-hour police show.
Was it nightly?
I think it was.
Was it weekly?
No, it was definitely a couple of episodes a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Greatest theme tune in police dramas ever, The Bill. You know, as if there's any listeners from around the world, that's what The Bill was. And then Colin Baker, who was one of the Doctor Who's. Yeah. He was the Doctor.
He pulled some amazing faces during this film.
Oh,
I mean, watch it just for his face and Helen's faces, because
definitely Helen's faces. Helen's faces.
Expression.
Oh yeah, one expression. Shock. I'm in a movie. What? It was kind of it, wasn't it? And yeah, but Colin Baker, one of the Doctors, was in there. Not great. But we're not talking about worst actor. We're not talking about best actor. That might have to. Oh, this movie was a weird one.
It was probably one of the worst bad movies we've seen. Mm-hmm. Just because it hasn't given us a lot of things to really talk about, has it? I think in terms of the categories that we picked this time, we're a bit light for content because there just wasn't anything that you could pick out.
Yeah, we were unlucky, I think, for the content and the content of the movie. We were unlucky with it.
It needed some content.
Yeah, it just needed some content. It did indeed. So now, what we're going to do now, we've made it through the wilderness of the rather empty kind of topics that we had on there. Now I'm in two minds whether to talk about best line or perhaps best scene first.
I think
I'll leave it to you.
Let's go for best scene.
Best scene? Okay, let's go with best scene. So we've got a few candidates for best scene, shall we say? The first one. Let's talk about. Shall we just talk about them? Because otherwise,
we've got a bit of content here.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's the shortest episode in the whole world of podcasts ever. All right, and you may be thankful for that, but hopefully not. So let's start talking about the seance scene, the original, the first seance scene.
Yes.
Okay. Now, weirdly, this was the best scene because it was actually just kind of the best scene in the movie in terms of like it being a proper movie scene.
Yeah, I guess so. But the first seance was very different to the second seance, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, and also I'd like to just add that every point in this movie where they're sat at a table or there's a table in the room, there's a half-eaten piece of food.
Yeah.
There's a plate, and I think at the seance there wasn't anything on the table, and then later on it panned to Harry, and he had a plate in front of him with a couple of crusts on it, and that wasn't there. I'm sure that wasn't there before.
No, it wasn't. You're right.
So food just randomly, or empty plates just randomly sort of popped up every now and then, as if they'd had a meal, but at the seance, I don't think they'd sat down to have a meal at the seance. Harry had obviously grabbed a sandwich at some point because there was some crust on a plate.
It was just left by catering services.
That was really odd.
Yeah, it was.
But the first seance was very different to the second one because the first one, they didn't have the Ouija board, did they?
That's right.
And they all held hands, but on the second one, they had to touch fingertips and they had the Ouija board there. So it was quite a different... And Toya Wilcox was out of the picture by then, wasn't she?
Yeah, she'd been spooked out by the house. Toya Wilcox was spooked out by the film and decided never to come back. Yeah, she got spooked out by the house and hightailed it, and rightly so. Who's going to stick around in a haunted house? No. Let's face it.
Well, Roger did, didn't he?
Yeah, he stuck it out for a while. Poor Roger. Oh God. But I mean, the seance scene was just probably the better acted. There was a great line that came up in the seance scene that I'll talk about when we talk about the best lines in a minute. But it wasn't that entertaining. It was just the best scene.
Yeah, I would say none of the film was entertaining, if we're being really honest.
However,
I'm trying to do the best bits here, but
I think that might move us on to what I think quite possibly, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me, as being the best scene.
Yes.
It was actually a short montage of a number of scenes.
Amazing. Yeah.
So this scene was preceded by a line that was like, now we have to ramp up the investigation. But this was the second time this line was said as well.
So hold on, so what was the first... Oh yeah, so the first one was the bells, wasn't it?
No, the first one wasn't the bells. The first one was just doing more... The first time was literally just them doing more experiments that you never actually really see any experiments of.
No.
And then something happened to Roger, I believe, where he got really freaked out. And we'll talk about that in the best lines. And
so
that's when they say...
the first stage of the investigation was literally... So Harry went to sleep.
Yep.
And told... Was it Mark?
Mm-hmm.
What's his name, Mark? He told Mark to go and spend a certain amount of time in different rooms. So he literally just got into bed with his full suit on.
Yeah.
And Mark did question that, but Harry said something about you never know what's going to happen in this house or something along those lines. So he went to bed in his full suit, braces, everything. I think he took his shoes off, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, as any gentleman in the 30s would do.
But apart from that, full suit. And he got into bed and told the other guy to go and investigate these different rooms and spend a certain amount of time in each room. He got to the first room, nothing happened at all, and then he went, I'm not staying here for too much longer, and then left. Didn't he? He just spent a couple of seconds in the first room, then that was it.
Yeah, he did,
so that was stage one of the investigation.
Yeah, pretty...
And they decided they needed to ramp it up.
Yeah, and they ramp it up in the most amazing way. So we're then greeted with a montage.
Yeah, amazing.
And I never this is not a movie I expected a montage from.
No.
And I don't think anyone that had written it, directed it, or acted in it expected it either.
I think they were probably trying to fill some time.
So the setup montage, a little bit of music. If I said to you, "Oh, can you show me something really interesting in a book?" What would you do?
I'd open the book.
Okay.
And I'd run my finger down the first page.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then I'd point in a lot of corners. And I'd put some bells out on the screen.
That was it, wasn't it?
That was the ramping up of the investigation.
That was the ramping up of the investigation.
Well, he smoked a lot. He did smoke every time he ramped it up.
Yes, he did smoke. Yeah. He seemed to like to...
If things got serious, he was lighting a cigarette.
I just had a thought.
He set fire to the house.
He set fire to the house. Because it's always focused. He always had a match. So I'm going off on a tangent here. But he set light to the house because he always had matches on him.
Fact.
Yeah.
You just said that like it was a fact.
Absolute fact. Okay. Second, when he sent Mark off to go and look around the house, he didn't go to sleep because he kept one eye open. Didn't he? And it's almost like...
he kept the eye open that Mark could see.
Yeah.
And then closed the other one.
I'm not saying he's a criminal genius.
But it's the thought that counts.
But it is. And so I think there's all the evidence you need to convict Harry Price for arson.
Who, by the way, reminded me of Harry Hill. So his name was quite fitting.
It was, yeah, it really was very fitting. So yeah, that's all you need to do to ramp up your investigation is I mean, honestly, the opening a book, not even to the first page of the book, the very front page where you would see maybe the... So
it'd be the inside front cover.
Yeah.
Nothing there really apart
inside front cover.
This book is for whoever.
And was maybe printed on this date and it's this edition. That's it. It was all it was. The pointing at the walls and the corners. And really, pardon the expression, really pointedly pointing as well. You know, with real purpose, as if we'll put something here, we'll put something there.
And they never did put anything there.
No, they did nothing.
And the book was just a random book that they just picked up and looked at the first page. But they did do a tripwire of bells, and that seemed to be quite a big deal.
Yes.
Even though I don't know quite what they told them. It was cold a lot as well, wasn't it?
It was very cold in certain areas. And then we found out that at the end of the 6 months, it was April 1938.
It'd actually taken them a year instead of 6 months, hadn't it? Didn't he say it's taken you a year?
Oh, did it?
Yeah, the guy... So okay. Doctor Who...
All right.
I can't remember his name.
Well, sorry, Doctor Who? I don't know, I can't remember his name.
He said to him at one point, towards the end, you've been here a year. It was meant to be 6 months and you've been here a year.
Right, see, because I was thinking, they kept going on about how cold parts of the house were, and I thought, well, of course it was cold, because your investigation was over winter, and you're in a decrepit old house with no heating.
But they'd been there all year, apparently.
Yeah. So, okay, fair enough. Maybe the cold bits were during the summer when it was supposed to be cold, supposed to be warm. Or maybe my whole theory about even Harry Price burning the house down is wrong.
No, don't question that. Don't ever question that.
I won't question that.
Whatever else you question, in my head, he's guilty. And somebody would need to prove me wrong.
Set up montage, hilarious. I think we laughed most at that bit of the
I
film.
think we only laughed at that bit of the film. I don't think there's any other funny bits in it.
We must have had a few tittles at other parts.
Helen's walk through the...
Helen's walk, which, funnily enough, that's the worst scene.
Oh, okay.
That's a bad scene. So if you want to hear about that, maybe we'll give you a way you can listen to the worst part. The worst parts of this movie. Although we're
surely not. There's no bad parts. So
that is going to come up. Oh my goodness! So we're really going to struggle with that. On top of the setting up montage, we also had a scene that actually used the bells, and that was a really confusing scene.
Was that the scene? Oh no, I'm thinking of the confusing conversation I had later on. The bell scene. Yes, it was confusing because something clearly made the bells move. And they heard the bells, and it was cold again. It was cold in the room.
Yep.
And then, was it Mark looked up and saw the ghost, but then it turned into Harry?
Yeah, that's right. It was the ghost and it was Harry, so it's like he was hallucinating.
And by the way, the ghost had the filthiest feet, didn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Black.
Yeah, absolutely soot black. Yeah,
but
definitely.
her face wasn't.
No,
I guess
the face...
she was walking around with shoes on though, but...
Yeah, maybe.
For hundreds of years.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, fair enough. She's got dirty feet because no shoes. Yeah. That's maybe being a bit mean to the ghost.
Harsh on the ghost.
A bit harsh to the ghost, yeah. If you're listening, we don't mean it, okay?
If you're listening, tap on the table.
The ghost turns into Harry, so Mark is like, oh, he thinks he's just seeing things. And then Helen and Roger are there as well, but Helen and Roger get really freaked out they see the ghost again in another sort of part, like in a different position, and then the lights go out. They kind of fumble for matches, which, surprise, surprise, Harry's got matches. Yeah. And they light a match and it illuminates the nun's face. And I think we haven't really mentioned the nun's face.
No.
But it's kind of like black eyes, like the eyes aren't there.
Sometimes she's just normal looking, isn't she? And then other times she's got
very rarely though.
A creepy face. And
early on she was normal looking.
Yeah.
Near the end of the film she's normal looking. But every time we see the nun, otherwise it's kind of...
But the face like changed as well because it was...
Sometimes it looks like Harry. And other times it just looks like...
And then at the end it was just like a kid's Halloween mask. It was awful, wasn't it? It was just like a really bad Halloween
And at
mask.
that point I don't think that was the nun at that point. I think that was the evil entity that was, I don't know, somehow affecting the normal nun ghost.
Confused at this film because it was so clear.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was so obvious what was going on. I don't know how you didn't see it at all, But it was just really messy, really all over the place. But it was, why is this in the best scene? I think it was just because they were trying so hard to do jump scares all the way through.
I don't think you could beat the montage because it was just so, it was literally like clutching at straws, like what can we include to make it look like an investigation? Let's point at some stuff and wander around the house.
We've got no real props for you to use.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like
we spent all our money on bells.
Yeah. We've
nothing left.
We've let the house owners of this house have kindly let us film in this house, but we're not allowed to like do anything to it. So they couldn't be seen to be putting up any instruments or anything.
No.
So they did nothing, and so they had to just kind of...
I guess also it was 1930s, so in terms of like recording devices, they wouldn't have had... I mean, they had that old-fashioned camera at one point that took longer to get going than by the time they'd got it going, the message on the wall had gone. Yeah, and in terms of... I guess if it was a ghost movie set now, you'd have recording devices set up, video and like sound recording, and you could do things like that. Although, would a ghost show up on a video recording? I don't know.
Apparently, I guess. Yeah.
But
maybe.
they wouldn't have had that technology back then, so they would have relied on bells and books.
Bells and books, yeah. Yeah, because I mean, literally, if there was an incident that happened, they were recording it, but they were just purely recording it by telling someone what happened and then noting it down. That was it.
Yeah, Harry did write one page of his notebook in a year.
Which was basically mass hallucinations, mass hysteria, group hallucinations or something, and not a lot more to it. So yeah, it was a strange one. But the bell scene, they tried really hard to make it really scary. Failed kind of miserably, but at least they tried. So it's there. But certainly not anywhere near the setup montage that we had. That was an absolute banger, I'm not gonna lie. But however, you did kind of fight for this next one to be included. Well, not fight for it, you just said that's got to be in the best scene list. And it was the flying book scene with Roger.
Yeah, because so basically Roger's in the bedroom on his own. I don't know why he's on his own. I don't know where Helen was.
Well, would anyone really want to be in a bedroom with Roger?
Everyone hated Helen, so well, we hated Helen.
Yeah, we did.
So Helen's husband is in the bedroom on his own, and he gets spooked because does he actually see her as well, doesn't he? I think, or do we know if he saw her? She was there, but I don't know if he saw her, or because some of them couldn't see her and some of them could.
So it was weird because the book goes flying and lands on the floor, and honestly,
it sort of spins around a bit, doesn't it?
It takes about 2 minutes to get off the bed and down to the book to investigate it. And then what happens is the nun grabs his hand and he pulls away, and
he jumps straight back onto the bed rather than out the door,
and hides under the duvet. Which, props to him. The duvet is the safe zone. Every ghost knows that.
Yeah, that's
every ghost knows.
Although, I was thinking that she didn't appear under the duvet. She appeared under the table, didn't she?
Yeah, but he didn't make any kind of indication that he saw her when she grabbed him.
That's why I was getting confused, because some people saw her and some people didn't. He didn't actually see her. He just saw the book move, felt her touch his hand, and then
that's right.
And then got back into the bed and hid under the covers. And then later on, that was a different scene though, wasn't it? Later on when
the sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm putting that down as a bad scene. Okay. The sandwich scene is a bad scene. If you watch this movie,
which you won't,
you won't. This is it. Like we watched them.
It, so you don't have to.
I think that's your catchphrase, isn't it?
It is now.
Yeah, there was another scene with Roger that I'm afraid makes it into the bad list on that one, so nothing good there, I'm afraid. So we have come to the end of our scenes, and now it's just a little bit of time to talk about the best lines in the movie.
Yes.
Actually, just a quick one. If you were to vote for the best scene overall, what would you say?
Best scene, I think I'd have to go montage, just because it was literally what it reminded me of was kids at school. If you said, right, you need to do a 2-minute show, skit, like some sort of play, and they didn't have any ideas and they pulled something together. Yeah, it was just literally, like you say, they had no props, but then again, what props could they have had because of the era? It wasn't like they had technology like we do now back then. So it was literally just look busy and walk around a lot, and that's what I think the director said to them, which is what I think you do when you work in an office a lot. You kind of
yeah.
If you're loving work but you don't want to be busy, then you sort of I'll just go and get this, and I'll make the tea, and then you just kind of wander around a lot, chat to a few people, make yourself look busy. It was like that. If
any of Emma's work colleagues are listening, I'm sure you're all going, wait a minute, she does do that. Yeah, I have to agree. It was like year 9 drama, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, the whole film was, to be fair. Especially Helen. Some acting classes.
Yeah, I don't think Helen... I mean, I've not looked up any of the actors or actresses really in any way, shape or form, but I can't imagine Helen's done a lot of acting.
Helen had one expression for everything, didn't she? And that was it. So,
But no, we're not talking about the worst actress. We're talking, that's it. We've got to...
Toya Wilcox.
But Toya Wilcox, however, I think we're both agreed. The montage was the best.
Yes.
100%. So now we're on to our last topic for this movie, and we're going to be talking about best lines. You may or may not be surprised, but there wasn't really a dearth of best lines in this movie. There were some that made us laugh at the absurdity of them.
We struggled a bit, didn't we, with lines as well, I think.
So the first one I picked out, which I think is actually still my favourite, was within the first 2 minutes of the movie. Mark had made a cup of tea for Harry.
Yes.
And Harry said, "Oh no, I meant a real drink." And he pulls out the smallest...
And he said it in that voice as
well.
Oh,
it was. Oh, thank you very much. That was
his 1930s accent.
That was my... I'm a 1930s dustman. Where does that come from? Is that...
No, Vic and Reeves used to do...
Oh, yeah.
I'm a cheeky Cockney gunman.
That's the one. So, oh no, I meant a real drink. And he pulls out and I think this was really what made it so funny, because he pulled out the smallest hip flask in the world.
We're talking doll's house.
It was tiny.
It was like a thimble. And it kept pouring from it. Throughout the whole film. And I was thinking, you must top this up like 20 times a day, because it's...
But that's the thing.
Literally holds nothing.
You say that. You say he must top it up, but I'm pretty sure...
Because what do they take with them?
Yeah, they took nothing.
They only had 3 suitcases, didn't they?
And they wore the same clothes all the way through the movie.
And slept in them, which is gross.
Yeah. Oh, a year of sleeping in the same clothes. I'd see ghosts if I did that. Just for going mad.
Well, it's probably their own clothes, just getting up and walking up. That's what they thought was the ghost.
Oh, it was really horrid, wasn't it? When you think about it. But in one of the scenes, he pours something out of there. This is like the third time you see him pour it, and then you don't see it again after this.
Yeah.
But it's almost like he pours it out of shot because they haven't filled it back up at all through the shooting of the movie. It makes me think, did they shoot it all on the same day?
I mean, they easily could have done, because...
Yeah.
Oh, I think Helen changed her outfit once.
Oh, yeah, when she came back.
Dresses. Yeah.
When she came back, she had a different one on.
But apart from that, I think everyone else stayed in the same costume all the way through. I think they easily, with that film, could have just spent an afternoon on it.
Absolutely. I think it would...
that house for an afternoon.
It would have taken... Right, the theme tune. Yeah, it would have taken more to put all the scenes together than it would have taken to film them, I think. Yeah, I agree.
And they probably only had Toya Wilcox for like an afternoon.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that was my favourite line, just because it led us on to just watching and looking out for this little hip flask as well. And the way he said it, it was funny. Now, when this line was said, you were straight on to, that's got to be in there. About
This is the animals.
This is the cows.
So the farmer guy from the bill, whose accent was just unbelievable. He was trying to do sort of a West Country accent, I think, wasn't he? But it wasn't.
It was like West Country meets Norfolk meets Pirates of the Caribbean. It was weird.
Yeah, it was strange. But he said something like, my cows won't... What did he say? My cows won't sleep that end of the field.
That's it.
And when they were talking about the ghostly beings that were there. But again, it was more the way he said it than the actual line, because his accent was so terrible.
Yeah, I don't even want to attempt it, because
I don't, because you wouldn't do it justice. We'd
do it better. You'd insult a large swathe of the the British population that may or may not be listening to us. Just imagine, my cows won't sleep at that end of the field in a dreadful West Country accent. It was bad. Why? I don't understand. Why make someone in Essex do a West Country accent? And if you're not aware, Essex is very much eastern.
It's near London, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not anywhere near.
It's the northeast of London, but like right on London, and it's East Essex. East.
But also, I'm a firm believer in, if you can't do accents, don't.
Yeah.
So, you've got Liam Neeson, you've got Rebel Wilson, you've got people like that actually, Liam Neeson does attempt accents, and he really shouldn't. But you've got people like Rebel Wilson just doesn't do an accent, because she clearly can't, otherwise she would do an American accent when she does American films. She's always Australian.
Yep.
And I think every film I've seen her in is based in America. Everyone else is American.
Mm-hmm.
She's Australian. People like Jason Statham and Liam Neeson that attempt to do an accent and it just doesn't work. Just write that character in as an Irishman or an Englishman.
Definitely.
Don't bother.
100%.
It's painful
100%.
to watch.
And especially when it's based in a part of England that doesn't have that accent.
Yeah, so he could just speak in his normal voice.
Yeah. Who are they trying to
And
trick?
while we're on the subject of accents, if you're doing an accent, do it or don't do it. Helen started off speaking pretty similar to me. Then halfway through the film, someone had obviously had a word, and she started speaking like this. This is how they speak in the 1930s.
I love that you say someone had a word.
Someone clearly had a word. Because she did, didn't she? In the first few scenes, she was just speaking, like what was obviously her normal voice. And then later on, halfway through-ish, she started to speak like this. How they used to speak in the 1930s.
And it was at the Bells scene that happened as well.
Yes.
That she turned that on. Because Roger said to her, "The air, it's very cold." And she said, yes it is. Like, full on, like, Queen of England, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was pretty... Either do an accent, or don't. If you can't, you're quite right. Don't do it. And certainly don't change it halfway through the film. No. God damn you, Helen. Honestly, I feel like I'm going to have personal beef with Helen for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I don't know why, but we just took an instant dislike to Helen.
It was very... Yeah, it was an instant.
When she came back, we literally were like...
Yeah. There was one. I know that this is a terrible line in the film, but I have to say it. Helen at one point was during the first séance. You know, the Toya Wilcox is, bless her, acting her heart out. And it's like, I can sense a presence, and Helen was like, I can sense it too. And we were both like, oh, whatever.
Shut up, Helen.
Shut up, Helen. No one cares about what you sense. Oh.
I don't know why, but we just didn't like her, did we?
No.
Do you know what? It was probably the walk in the beginning that she did that annoyed us.
Yeah.
She forgot how to walk.
How do you forget how to walk? But then I suppose what happens when, you know, if you're not very confident acting.
Natural. If someone says look natural, you instantly go into Chandler Bing when he's trying to take a photograph and smile. If someone says look natural, you just can't look natural.
You can't do it.
To save your life. It's like when you're at a wedding and people say, I want some really nice candid photos, natural photos of all my guests. And as soon as the photographer's there, you're like, you just make a weird face or do something odd because you just can't cope with being natural.
Absolutely. Oh, Helen. Oh no. I just realised the very last best line that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's Helen's.
I think it's a Helen line as well. Her entity is all-consuming. Or was that Toya? Was that Helen or Toya?
No, I think that might have been Helen.
It was in the first séance, wasn't it?
Yes.
Oh no, it was Helen, because it was just after I sense it too, and then she goes on to say, yeah, Toya then says her presence is all around us or something, and it's like choking, it's oppressive kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then she says, her entity is all-consuming. And again, it wasn't because it's a good line.
It was just, it's
just the way
it's said, I think.
But we're really clutching at straws again with the best lines, in a sense. They've let us talk about a lot of things about the movie, but...
I think the moral of this podcast
ultimately
is... bad. I know we're supposed to be talking about the good points, but don't watch it.
Yeah.
Save yourself some time.
Yeah, which, you know what, it does lead us kind of nicely on to what we want to kind of say about the film now. So what we'd like to do is score the movie based on whether it's a good, bad movie. Would we recommend you to sit down and watch this film with your friends, or if you see it on Prime or it's on late night on the horror channel, if that's still a thing, anything like that, would we recommend that you take the time and just go like, yeah, you know what, I'll watch this or not? But before we give our final review, Emma, is there anything else you want to talk about this movie?
I don't think so. I think we've covered the main points, but there wasn't, like we said, there wasn't a lot of good points that we could pick out of this one. I think it was a bit nothingy. There wasn't a lot of action. There wasn't a lot going on, was there? It was kind of people wandering around the house, trying to summon this ghost or poltergeist or whatever it was, and that was really it. There wasn't a lot going on, was there? Like,
I think it was just because they had tied their hands with maybe trying to be close to the story, and if they'd maybe just been like, you know what, let's just say it's based on true events,
exactly,
and
based on, then
mix it up, make it a bit more dramatic, because it was just watching a pretty boring
But then if you only wrote one page of notes, they didn't have much to go on, did they? To
no,
write the movie.
no.
Mass hysteria. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
There wasn't any mass hysteria though, was there?
No, there wasn't. I mean, were they trying to say that the bell scene was mass hysteria when they were all... I don't know. None of it really made that much sense. Okay, Emma.
Oh, sorry, there was a point.
Oh, go on.
I wanted to talk about. There was a conversation between Harry and... Who was the guy? Helen's dad, wasn't it? It was Helen's dad?
Helen's dad, Mr. Glanville or something.
There was a conversation at one point between them two, which literally was like they filmed a scene and then cut it, and it didn't make any sense. So he said something like, how long have you been here now? Oh. And then Harry said, yes, it has been a difficult investigation. It was just like, what's going on?
That's not the answer to that question.
No,
where did that come from?
Yeah, that whole scene was like, what?
Yeah, it's almost like it was written by multiple people. You know when you used to do that thing in school where someone would draw something and then they'd hide it and then draw.
It was like that.
But with every line of the movie.
It was either like that, or it was they'd filmed a longer scene and edited it, but edited it, cut too many bits out that made it make sense. So it just was literally like, right, we've got too much here, guys, so just cut a load of it out without listening to it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it didn't make sense.
It didn't, did it? So, okay, next, I think that is gonna cut our losses on this film. Emma, can I please ask you for a score out of 5 on whether this is a good, bad movie?
No, we've watched some bad movies in our time, and I would say this is a 1.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going to be that harsh because we've struggled to find things to talk about on our categories, and I think I can sit here and think of several other bad movies that we could talk for 2 hours on any of the categories that we've got.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5.
I'm not going to be that far behind you on a 1, actually. It is not an entertaining movie. I suppose you could watch it and waste maybe an hour and 20 minutes of your life.
Skip forward to the montage scene, I'd say.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. Skip forward to the montage. Absolutely. I don't think you'd be in the wrong place doing that at all. So it's a 1 star from you.
1 star.
And a 1 star from me too. So thank you very much for listening to our very first episode. We will be trying to get them out in as regular a basis as we can.
Yeah, and we hope that the next one will be a bit more entertaining. The film.
Yeah.
The podcast's entertaining anyway. But we hope that the next film will be more entertaining for us. Otherwise, we might just stop doing them.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So please, Hollywood, give us some bad movies.
I don't think these are Hollywood.
No, I don't think it's Hollywood at all.
Amazon Prime, give us some better movies.
So if you want to also follow us on any social media, we do have some social media. Hopefully we're going to start putting out a few bits of information about the movies that we watched. We might even throw in some information about the categories, etc., so you can see a little bit more information about that. But you'll be able to follow us on Instagram. We are at ICBadMovies. Okay. We also have a Twitter, but probably not as active on Twitter as it would be on Instagram, and that is IC, as in I and the letter C, Bad Movies Pod. And yeah, catch us on there. We'll try and keep you somehow entertained and up to speed with when our next episodes are. Now, I did also allude to the fact that we'll be maybe throwing out some extra content. If you are so inclined, we're going to have a Patreon up as well, where we're going to have a bonus episode that we're going to be talking about the bad parts of the movie.
I mean, we're going to struggle. I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
We'll give it a go.
So we're going to have that episode out there for us, and if you come along and see that, I'm not even sure at this point in time about the tier of Patreon or anything, but it's going to be out there, and it's certainly not going to be expensive. So if you do come along there, we thank you enough. If we see you pop up on there, we'll give you a shout out on the next episodes as they come through. And yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much, everyone. And if you've got any film suggestions as well for the future, we'd be happy to receive those as well.
Yes, because I guarantee you, even though I know a lot of bad movies, and Emma and we've watched a lot of bad movies, there's a lot more out there than what we've heard of.
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I don't write movies, so
luckily.
Good. Me no English good. Well, on that note, bye.
Bye.